This date, sports history, this is 1995. Reggie Aloysius Miller Jr. III. He scores, 8 points in 9 seconds against the New York Knicks. How often do you get asked about that, Reg?
Just about every venue I walk into to announce a game. Somebody brings up that game, or they'll come up with the choke sign and start laughing, or they swear they're the biggest Knicks fan and they hate me, but they respect me. So I get it from all sides, but it's funny because when I call games and games are coming down the stretch and teams are down by 6 or 7 points, always in the back of my mind, I say, well, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. I've seen funnier things happen. And that was one of those perfect storms where things just kind of came together.
What did you do after the game?
I went back to my little nestled place, the Plaza Hotel, and ordered a room service. And in the playoffs, you're always holed up, so that was it.
You couldn't have gone out.
I believe that was game 1, and I remember I made the remark about John Starks choking. So the headlines the next day was me calling out John Starks and the Knicks choking, which everyone knew they did, but because I said it, it was a headline, which I get. So yeah, I was just holed up at the Plaza.
Yeah, you couldn't have been walking the streets. I don't think New Yorkers would have been thinking too highly of that if they saw you out.
At that time, no. Mark, again, we talked about this, you and I. Mark Jackson was my eyes and ears. He was the one that would go out and infiltrate the masses and tell me what people were thinking. So he brought me the newspapers so I could read and get fired up and things like that.
Did you ever talk to John Starks about that moment?
I've not about that moment, but when I've done Knicks games when they were relevant and actually on our network a few years back, when we'd go into the Garden, he works for the Knicks, so we would have a somewhat friendly conversation. I mean, we're cool. I respect John. John was one of the fiercest guys I've ever gone against, and I respect that. I respect guys that lay it on the line and would do whatever it takes to win. But we're cool. We're all right.
Reg called Game 4 last night, Rockets and the Jazz. He'll be on duty Game 5 tomorrow night in Houston at 8 Eastern on TNT. I love the Jazz story. They just don't have the weapons to compete here. I'd love to see them win another game, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Your takeaway from this series is what?
You're 100% right. Not enough weapons. And, you hate to say this, but they're bringing a knife to a gunfight. Yeah. Houston has too many weapons. They have the 3 best players in this series, and that's no disrespect to the rookie and Donovan Mitchell, but James Harden, number 1. In my opinion, number 2 has been Clint Capella. Yeah. I mean, what he has done at both ends of the floor, especially defensively, and obviously the birthday boy yesterday, Chris Paul. They've got the 3 best players. They're well coached, and they've got role players that understand their roles significantly. And defensively, people don't like to talk about this with the Houston Rockets, but defensively, they're finding ways to win ball games, and they shut you and lock you down. So this heavyweight fight that we are all want to see in the Western Conference, both teams are 1 win away from the Western Conference Finals and facing one another in Golden State and the Houston Rockets.
The Hamptons 5 they're now known. Is that the best starting 5 in the last 40 years? I mean, it's the worst name, but is that the best starting 5 in the last 40 years?
In the last 40 years, the best starting 5?
Yes.
So Curry, Durant, Iggy, Draymond, Clay.
Yeah.
Look, last 40 years, let me see. Okay. I liked, go ahead. Joe Dumars, Isaiah, Rodman, Lambeer, Isaiah, or how about Magic, Worthy, Byron Scott, Kareem.
Okay, which one would you take? I didn't even put the Pistons in here, and I should. Bird, McHale, Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge. Bill Walton was 6th man of the year. He came off the bench. 87, you had Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Byron Scott, and AC Green. 96 Bulls, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Harper, Longley. 2011 Heat, Wade, Bosch, LeBron, Big Z, and Chalmers. And then you throw in the bad boys of the Pistons in there, which sneaky underrated, I would say, with Zeke and Dumars, Hall of Famers in the backcourt, Laimbeer, Rodman. Do we have Mark Aguirre in there as well?
Mark Aguirre. I would take all those teams other than that Miami team over the Warriors, starting five. All those teams you mentioned, other than that Miami team. Because let's face this too. That starting five for the Golden State Warriors, that's a small lineup.
Yeah.
Can you think about them going against that Boston Celtic or that LA Laker, Kareem, Magic, and Worthy team? I mean, those guys are small. Now, don't get me wrong. They are quick, athletic, but again, depends on what rules we're playing with, 80s, 90s, 2000s, the new millennium. But I would still take all those other teams other than that Miami team over Golden State.
Well, if you're doing old school rules, then I'm going to take those teams. I'll take the 87 Lakers, 86 Celtics. I'll take the bad boys of the early 90s. But if I'm playing today's
new school rules, I'm still taking those teams over Golden State.
All right. I was curious about that. Reg has the call. That'll be tomorrow night in Houston. That'll be Game 5. The LeBron runner, as beautiful as it was, clutch as it was, I can't. Every time I see a star player hit a shot and there's single coverage on him, I just want to scream, Reg. I know he's coming at you at full force. There's two guys who start on him. One guy sags off, and then LeBron hits the runner. Like, I want him taking a going left, shooting back right off the glass. I want that, but I want DeMar DeRozan out there, somebody athletic on him. I can't believe that they let LeBron even have a look like that, Reg.
Number one, the degree of difficulty on the shot that you just highlighted. I mean, driving left, full speed, shooting back right, and oh, by the way, I'm going to call bank. Yeah. Unbelievable. But you're right. The problem is they took the ball full court. They didn't take it out on the side where you have a better chance of doubling him and getting the ball out of his hands. Yeah. When he was going left, did you see who was in that left corner? Kyle Korver. You can't come off Kyle Korver.
No, Reg. I let Korver beat me. I'm not letting LeBron James beat me. If Kyle Korver hits it, I will salute him.
So then right now, what you're calling in question, I agree with you. You got to get the ball out of his hand.
I can't have LeBron have it. I can't. I'll deal with that. If Kyle Korver hits that three, then you know what? Good for him. I want the guys who don't normally take those shots. And, you know, the NBA learned
So what you're saying is, should someone have gotten the ball out of should Byron Russell and John Stockton and Malone gotten the ball out of Michael Jordan's iconic shot at the free throw line on the push-off?
Yes.
Same scenario. One-on-one, up top, let me go to work.
Yes.
Best players find a way to get that off.
Reg,
and we saw what happened.
You got to pick up your – I got to make you pick up your dribble. I have to do that. As everybody, the NBA found out when Jordan got the ball against the Cavs and went through a double team and then had single coverage with Craig Elo, hit the shot, I would never want Jordan to beat me again. And you had Paxson who hit a big shot and Steve Kerr who hit big shots in their Bulls careers because people did double team Mike and make sure that he didn't get the shot. But Utah.
But it didn't. Did it pan out that way?
Utah should have doubled him. They should have doubled him. They should have. I'm still. They
should have doubled LeBron.
Crazy.
But I'm sure. Look, he's a willing passer. He would have gave the ball up. If they would have came up with Kyle Korver, wide open, short corner three, Kyle Korver, 70% of the time wide open is going to knock down that shot.
I don't care. LeBron's not beating me. Not beating me.
Number one, look. He is in the Raptors' head. I mean, this is bad. Seriously, because now you're in your best player's head as well in DeMar DeRozan. For DeMar DeRozan not to play the fourth quarter, your best player,
crazy,
your all-star,
crazy,
you've got to be on the floor. So look, a lot of mistakes down the stretch by Dwayne Casey and staff, not having your best player on the floor with that length. I mean, he's the one guy that probably, if you didn't want to come double, you would probably want DeMar DeRozan on LeBron James, right? At least?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes. Because if you go...
So you got to have your best player on the floor at that time.
And people don't realize that you want him to go left, to go back right, so at least you're playing back into the defender if you go back right. Ideally, you want that runner as a right-handed shooter going right to be able to extend a little further away from the defender and get it off the glass. He went left, came back, and then had the kiss off the glass. That's where I want two guys on him, and I certainly want DeMar DeRozan on him, even if he's pouting or slumping. At least I got a guy who's got some length there to, challenge it or double team him.
Theodore, that's a heck of a shot, though, man.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
By LeBron,
I know.
Man. I mean, come on. You would pray. If during the course of a game, you would pray that he would take shots like that. It just so happens he's making those in the series.
Yeah. No, it's been an unbelievable series, that they barely escape Indiana. And then you would think Toronto, best record, home court advantage. And then, let's say they move on and Boston moves on. Boston has home court advantage here. I know that Vegas really, the Cavs are a big favorite against the Celtics here. Do you see it that way, if that's how this plays out? I do. And look, you asked me this last week after Cleveland wrapped up that Indiana series. I could not have been more wrong. I just thought with the length and the depth of Toronto playing 9-10 deep that they were going to wear the Cavs down. But when they stole game one, and they had no business winning game one, and then they pumped them in game two, the writing's on the wall. And we didn't factor in the psyche of Toronto because we needed to ask ourselves, what have the Raptors done? All they've done in the playoffs is disappoint us, right? Yeah.
That's all they've done. So why were we giving them a long leash? Why was I giving them a long leash as opposed to looking at the pedigree, not only of LeBron, but of the Cavaliers? Kevin Love, there's been a sighting, right? He's found his game. He found his niche. He understands he's the number two guy on this team now. So I could not have been more wrong. And yes, the Cavs would be, I wouldn't say a heavy favorite because we're not giving Brad Stevens and the Celtics IQ, all the players, the Celtics IQ of being able to win ball games. They find ways, and they're young and they're energetic, and I don't know if they don't even know any better, but they play the right way, and they play well off of one another, and that's what makes them so dangerous. So I wouldn't say the Cavs are a heavy favorite. I think it would be a great series just because of the fact of what Brad Stevens has done as a coach to bring out the best in a Terry Rozier and a Horford. And, I mean, they're just playing – I mean, the rookie Tatum, Jaylen Brown playing hurt. I give them all the credit.
I'm looking at LeBron's numbers in the playoffs. He's averaging just under 35, 9.5 rebounds, almost 9 assists, 1.5 steals. Shooting.
Is he your MVP now? Don't you wish you could factor in postseason? And James Harden has been just as fantastic for Houston. But if you had to pick an MVP right now and include the first, 6, 7, 8 games for each team, who's your MVP?
LeBron was my MVP, but I said Harden has earned it. He's earned the right, but LeBron is the most valuable player in the league. He just is. He's the best player, and he's the most valuable player in the league. Harden is a new story.
Can't argue.
He deserves to be the MVP, just like Westbrook got his opportunity, but there's nobody on those other teams, if you put him on the Cavs, that could do what LeBron is doing. And if I put LeBron on Oklahoma City, they're still playing. If I put him on the Rockets, they're going to be the favorites in the West. So, that's just LeBron. Harden is not getting the Cavs to the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion, or Russell Westbrook Jr. III.
I agree.
Not happening.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what Michael Jordan fell into that. The years that Karl Malone won it twice and Charles Barkley won it that one year, those were Mike's MVPs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But,
and he showed that in the finals when he played them.
One final note here. We had Frank Isola on, who covers the Knicks for the New York Daily News. And he said part of the reason why the Knicks have hired David Fizdale is his connection with LeBron James. We have not factored in the Knicks with any big-name, high-priced free agents in recent memory. Why would this be different? Should we be including the Knicks in the possible destinations for LeBron?
No, absolutely not. No, LeBron's not going to play for the Knicks. Sorry, Knicks fans. You got a great hire in David Fizdale. Great coach, great X's and O. I thought he got a raw deal in Memphis, but LeBron James and the Knicks absolutely, positively won't happen.
Yeah, that's.
And in fact, this is hurting all these other teams like Houston or Philadelphia, the success of what Cleveland's doing right now. Because if they would have went out against Indiana or found a way to lose versus Toronto, then you can be like, you know what? LeBron did the best he possibly could with this roster. But what he's doing now, and probably what other free agents are seeing, is that, you know what? This dude still has a lock on the Eastern Conference for the next 3 to 4 years. Let me go to Cleveland and play with him.
Safe travels, Reg. Good to talk to you. Have fun tomorrow night in Houston.
Theodore, you're the best. And you know what, guys? We, because I am the fifth Danette, we are going to win that Sports Emmy. We're winning it.
Hey, if this show wins,
I believe that we will win.
I'm getting you. You're going to get a Sports Emmy.
Just put an asterisk by it because you guys do the heavy lifting and all the hard work.
No, Reg.
Seriously.
No. You're our sixth man, but you're the fifth Danette. You're coming off the bench.
So I'm the microwave. I'm Vinny Johnson. I'm the microwave.
Oh, we didn't even factor in the microwave with that Pistons bad boys. Man.
Thank you. Now, are you taking them over Curry?
You could make a case.
Yes.
That Pistons team is as talented as any team in the last 30 years.
Thank you.
You can make a case. I can make a strong case. I got John Sally coming off the bench.
I'll tell you where they're number one. I will tell you where they're number one at. They were absolutely number one. They were the toughest and meanest team over the last 30 years. No one comes close.
Did they try to hurt you intentionally?
What do you think?
Yes,
That's why I walk with a limp right now. That's why I walk with a limp right now.
I just thought that was your gangster lean. I didn't know that you were walking with a limp because of the Pistons.
No, thanks, Bill. You just think I walk cool. That's driving to the hole against the bad boys.
Oh man, you should file a lawsuit against them. File a claim.
No, it's all good. Badge of honor.
Thank you, Reg.
You're the best, Theodore. Love you, Danette.
That's Reggie Aloysius Miller Jr. III.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.